Hello fellow space engineers. Today we're going to talk about carriers and the resistance of the methods that they use for carrying their craft, whether it be drones or fighters. Now, I'm going to make a test today in this world, and the test originated from a message exchange that I had with Greg Perko. And now Greg, he's a modder and he makes really interesting scripts for the game. For the ones of you who don't know him, I'm gonna put a link in the description below to his channel. Okay, basically we were talking about the best way of carrying a small craft in a larger ship. Now he devised this method of using, I think he calls it the pinhole method. It's basically attaching a small ship rotor to a small ship and then using that whole trick in which you attach a small ship rotor to a large ship rotor using sensors when they detect the craft approaching at the distance that they can attach, uh, they automatically clip the small craft to the big ship rotor. So he was commenting that way the game basically reads the two objects as if they were a single physics unit or physics object. So as opposed to this attachment method that I have here, which is the the old popular connector, which is just, I would say, 50%, maybe even more, less explosive than the landing gears. Now that's why I quit using landing gears altogether. Okay, this is the vehicle bay or the hangar deck of the Calypso class destroyer that I've been using in my survival playthrough. And as I mentioned earlier in one of those videos, these merge blocks, these connectors, as of the last week's update, they still explode. Like I said, not as much as the landing gears, but they still do. So I'm gonna show you the original design of this hangar deck. It was way more complex. It was meant for it to automatically produce the drones, like manufacture them with welders. So basically you just like selected the type of drone that you wanted from the projectors and then activated the welders and you can just fly them off. But right now, as you can see here, they basically just this hangar bay, hangar deck has been relegated to just being a resupply station for the drones. Okay, let me go and show you the original idea for this hangar deck. Okay, this is the original design as I intended, and as you can see, it's way more complex. I mean, it's a simple principle, but it has all of these hanging welders, and I call these code hangers for the drones. So each one has a projector and a merge block. So as you can see, the idea here was that you project a small ship from this projector and you build it, and when you build it, it becomes, I mean, it basically gets, let's say, birth from this merge block. So it already has power. It has the power from the main ship, from the Calypso. And when it's fully finished, you lock in the connector, and then that feeds uranium and the ammunition into the Gatling guns and the rocket launchers and the small reactors. That was the idea. But then two things happened. The first thing that happened was they decreased the range of the welders. I think the idea was to reduce lag or something like that, I'm not sure. So basically what happened is that the drone would be built on two sides, but the middle would remain unbuilt. If you play survival, I guess you can do with that. Basically you just have to go and weld the seam in between. And as you can see with this drone design, this is the modified version that I created with the merge block on the back. of the mini squid drone, you just had to weld a few armor blocks, the two central Gatling guns, the camera, what else? A square conveyor, more armor, and basically that was it. Because these bigger pieces, the pieces that take 3x3 space, like the merge block, sorry, again, the connector, the medium cargo container, and this reloadable rocket launcher, they do fall within the range of the welders. So you just have to go and like finish the seam in the middle. It's, I mean, nothing major. You can deal with that. But what really killed this design was this, the breaking point of the rotors. And I can tell you something, like it was 3 updates ago, maybe 4 updates ago. If you go at full speed, these things will detach, break, clip through. And I had an incident in which this entire area, I mean, I lost all 3 hangars, the 3 coat hangars for the drones. And the bulkheads, this bulkhead right here, this white one, was intact. But as I went, and I'm going to depressurize this compartment, so there it is. And when the thing clipped through the bulkhead, it managed to destroy this assembler. Everything else, fortunately, the cargo container was fine, the bulkhead and the door and everything else was fine, but the assembler. So it was a major clipping error there, or glitching through. I don't know if that's what they call rubber banding, but anyway, so that's what happened. Now, I just watched a video in which Craig and his friends, they try out the new carrier that he built with the pinhole method, you know, attaching by rotors, and they couldn't get to break it. So I'm also going to link the video in the description. It's really interesting for all you carrier makers there out there. So I'm going to do the same. I'm going to try to break these things as I managed to break them before. We'll see if there's any clipping errors, and I have to say that when this happened, I didn't have any drones attached. I had unloaded all the drones, and I was just like going after a derelict that I found with this scanning script. So let's do the test with 2 empty hangars, coat hangars, as opposed to a hangar, and 1 drone attached. So, as Greg also discussed in an earlier video, we have to observe carrier protocol when it comes to docking. So here's the deal. I'm going to attach the drone. There it is. I'm going to show you the control tab. And as you can see here, I have the detachment controls in numbers 4, 5, and 6. So I can lock or unlock the top part. I'm going to leave it unlocked because I know the connectors break. So I'm just going to use the merge block and the rotor. I'm going to leave the block on. Well, let's turn it off, actually, just in case. And now, here's what you really have to do. You power off gyroscope, thrusters, reactors, because you know your ship is gonna be supply of energy by the carrier, in this case the Calypso class destroyer. So even if you power off your reactors, if you have your thrusters power on, you see they keep they're still active because they're being powered by the main carrier. Okay, so off with reactors and thrusters, off with gyroscope, so the gyroscope doesn't want to fight the motions of the carrier, and just for to be, let's say, freed of clutter in your screen, power off the antenna. Okay, that's how you move a drone or a fighter. so it's not fighting against you. Okay, now let's go. I'm gonna keep this bay open and I'm gonna start moving and I'm gonna reach full speed and see what happens. Okay. Let's go away from the enemy destroyer. And the idea here is to replicate the scenario in which the accident occurred. So I had inertial dampeners off and I was moving at full speed. Now the Calypso is a heavy armor destroyer and it only has 4 large thrusters, vanilla, so it takes a while for it to accelerate. I designed it with defense in mind, and also I created this engine base with extra space in case I decided to install a mod like the Sage thrusters or maybe even the tiered thrusters, which are the same size. Okay, I'm gonna cut the video here and start recording again when I reach full speed. Okay, I changed the angle of the vessel so the sun is hitting it sideways and we can see everything that happens inside. And this seems really solid. I'm moving at full speed and nothing is happening to the rotors. Usually it takes a while, and then if you had, for example, ships locked by landing gears, they just like move back and forth. And that happened when I was searching for derelicts 2 updates ago. And that's how I managed to destroy big portions of the Charon troop transport that I just found. But everything seems fine. Okay. It's moving a little, as you can see. Just a tiny bit. Okay, I'm going to kill the engines like I did that time. Okay. And now I'm gonna start moving because I was moving in a single direction and then I started moving the ship using the camera to scan for asteroids. Wow. As you can see, I'm moving at full speed. I'm rotating at the same time, using both gyroscope motion. There it is. There it is. Okay. Well, what did we learn then? The one that had the drone broke. The others remain intact. Well, let's try to get rid of the drone. Let's try to get it out of the hangar deck. Whoa. This is really interesting. Well, at least the code hangars are in place. Oh, Jesus, the drone just broke. the bulkhead. Well, the wreckage of the drone. Come on, get out. Okay. Well, I guess what we can assume here is as long as you're not going at full speed, the drone will be fine, or any kind of attachment that you have with rotors will be fine. Now, I'm wondering if attaching the drone both with the rotor and the connector would make it better. So let's try that for the second test. Here we are trying this again. This time, as you can see, the drone is locked both by the rotor merge block and the connector. So let's reach top speed and begin the crazy maneuvers. Okay, perfect. Oh, still controlling the drone. Ah, managed to damage some things. Those must be the thrusters from the drone when I was moving it. Okay. Let's rotate towards the sun. And now that kind of maneuver is really aggressive, considering the game. Seems fine. As you can see, still full speed. Go down and then right. There it is. So it broke the connector. As you can see, the connectors are easier to break than the rotors apparently. So if we had to make a scale towards like the most explosive following to the less explosive, I would say landing gears would be first, then connectors, and then rotors. I do not know where pistons stand. I'm really scared of them. Okay, I'm gonna point out something obvious. The easiest way to break a rotor is to try to bend it, to bend its rotation axis. So for example, if you go up and down, there's no big deal there. It's just like, you know, a little bit of wobble. Not such a big deal. But if you go sideways, let's see, it's a whole different story. Oh. Apparently not. Apparently that was the fault of the connector. Interestingly enough, we are having a hard time trying to break this rotor this time. There it is. Okay. So we had to continuously accelerate using the gyroscopes, not the thrusters. And off she goes. It just reminded me of that image of World War II when they were throwing off the aircraft of the carriers. Anyway, ah, damn it. So I guess with sufficient force you can break the rotors, but a considerable mass have to be attached to them. In this case, a drone. And that was only one drone, so imagine if two drones were attached to it. Maybe they would have broken earlier. Because those two are intact. So, well, my conclusion is that, like Greg found out, rotors seems to be the safest way. Not 100% infallible, but they are the safest so far. I mean, if you compare them with landing gears, like, forget it. Like, just don't use them. But if you're gonna use rotors, keep in mind that you better just use them as opposed to combining them with, you know, these connectors like I did, which ended up badly, as you saw. Now, I guess in the future, maybe next week, I'm gonna make a test of two rotors instead of just one, holding a single ship, like a two-point attachment. Um, I'm not sure if I would be able to do it in the Calypso though, because of the space, but we'll just give it a try. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this video, and to Greg, thank you for the scripts. They're great. The mods, especially, you know, the toiletries mod with the showers and the different sinks and toilets, they really fit the whole theme of sci-fi and space exploration. And I don't know, like, I guess I did manage to break these things, even though the Calypso, maybe, could it be that it has less mass than your carrier? I'm not sure. Maybe your carrier, being light armor, has less mass. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Maybe the type of, I mean, the angle in which you attach the rotors, which was like 90 degrees relative to the main hull of the carrier, and I attached them vertically. So I don't know what the factors here are. You definitely have more experience in those areas. So I don't know. Let's see. Let's see what happens if we can keep breaking stuff faster than the developers fix this game. Okay, take care.